Today I fucked up by throwing out old leftovers. My wife and I have been following one of the WW cookbooks because she and I want to start eating healthier. Eventually, we got to the poultry section of the book, and got to a recipe called, chicken and spring veggie summer rolls, which seems pretty innocent when you read it. However, the paste you are meant to dip the rolls in has toasted sesame oil, which I cannot stand the smell of even if it is from a freshly opened bottle. I did not eat dinner that night, and opted for something else. My wife still makes extra portions for me, and when I do not eat them, she agreed to take them to work for lunch over the next couple days. 2 weeks later, I find them in the back of the refrigerator unopened since that night. I mention something about it to her, and she says she'll take care of it. Fast forward another 2 weeks to today, when the foo happened. I was already cleaning out the refrigerator when I stumbled upon the leftover spring rolls and dipping paste. I already knew that the food was probably rotting in their containers, and that the smell would be horrendous. I grabbed a chip clip off of the refrigerator and pinched my nose shut. The spring rolls were furry with mold of course, but the paste looked fine. Looks can be deceiving. I toss out the spring rolls and open the container of paste, and I was instantly pummeled with the smell of rotting peanut butter, rice vinegar, and toasted sesame oil. The odor was so pungent, I could taste the smell of it all, even with my nose plugged. It was thickly cemented to the bottom of the container, so I had to grab a spoon to help me out. Stirring it made it so much worse. I quickly put down the death paste and ran to the bathroom to dry heave into the toilet. There, I found a box of N95 surgical masks that seal well and loop around your head. My dad gave them to me from one of his supply deployments during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I remember he said they're the best to use to block out particulates. I grabbed some of my wife's body spray and sprayed the inside of the mask with it for safe measure, and donned my new breathing apparatus. As I walked back into the kitchen, my eyes began to water. The paste was still there on the counter waiting for me. As I scoop the paste into the garbage, I wince as my shield against the assault on my olfactory nerve begins to crack. Finally, I had done it. I place the dish into the sink and take my mask off. I could still smell it lingering, but it was bearable. I briefly considered saving the last little residual bits in the container for my wife when she gets home, but I begin to rinse out the container anyways, deciding that only the worst villains deserve this assault on the senses. Big mistake. As the warm water splashed against the plastic, a new wave of awful washed over me and into my nostrils. I immediately begin to heave. I reach the trash can and vomit into the bag, but I had made another crucial error. I hadn't changed the bag yet after dumping out all of the old leftovers, and the scent of my vomit and the month-old rotten food was overwhelming, causing an endless cycle of breathing in fumes and vomiting out last night's late-night snack. Very soon, there was nothing left, and I was able to regain my bearings. I trudged to the bathroom, still nauseous from the onslaught my nose and stomach had just endured. I washed my face, and returned to the kitchen holding my breath. I donned the mask again and turned off the faucet. Now the real challenge lays ahead of me, taking the garbage bag out of the can to the dumpster outside. Too long did not read. Discarded old leftovers and rinsed dishes without protection, ended up losing my lunch in the process. I'm going to use the not safe for work tag for the graphic content in this post. Edit. Alright guys, next time I'll just throw away the container. Y'all are buying me new ones, right? Grin. That container was so precious to you? Just toss it all, my dude. Yeah. Never leave leftovers for longer than a week. Why even so much hassle? The container is heavily contaminated with mold and spores by now, and a biohazard. Throw it out with the rotting food inside and get a new one for a few dollars. You chip clipped your nose shut? Really? You kept the container nauseated face even after bleaching plastic containers that have had mold in them. I've still smelt, tasted the mold. Today I fucked up by being a life art model for my best friend and losing a best friend. So, I'm sure from the title you are all thinking this is just another horny story or whatever. If you think this is that, I don't blame you, but it definitely wasn't a sexy experience in my eyes. His didn't happen today but rather last week, but some context first. I go to a university with around 80% women. I'm a man, one of the few non-boob havers. I'm turning 20 soon and am around the same age as the other students in my year. The university has a campus where all the students live on site and go to lessons in the same building. All the students on campus do the same history course. While everyone does history, there's a thriving art community in the form of clubs or groups. It's my first year in university when this all went down. There's this super cool girl who lives 2 doors down from me who I've made friends with. She's also my project partner for one of my semester-long research courses, and she helps organize the art club in her spare time. Let's call her Beth for now. Apparently, the art club has occasional life model drawing session, where they get one of the members of the art club, usually a woman, to model for the group so they can practice their drawing. I've never been super into art, so this was a surprise to hear when Beth told me about this. I assumed that having a model could become awkward, but I supposed as long as they were all women and it's for art, it's not that bad. So, the day of the fuck-up. I'm working on my part of the project with Beth in the library when she gets a text. Apparently the student who was gonna model got some sort of a virus and was too sick to join. Beth gets really upset. These sessions happen once a month and she doesn't want to miss it. She asks me if I want to model. After all, the girl who was gonna model was also a student, so how bad can it be? When Beth asked me this, it was as if she expected me to say no. I should have. Unfortunately, I panicked under my need to please and the unexpected request, and I said yes. After all, why shouldn't I do something different? There's 3 things I fucked up here on out. Firstly, for some reason, I assumed the students drawing me would be random students I had never met before. I didn't consider Beth would be among them. Secondly, as I came out of the dressing room, I realized that I knew many of these students. Since we all live on campus, these were girls, and they were all girls, believe it or not, which isn't super unusual for the art club. I knew and walked with to class every day. My main fuck-up was this. As I removed my dressing gown, trembling with fear like a wet puppy, I got incredibly self-conscious. I was holding a standing pose with my hands on my hips, and I'm aware I don't exactly have washboard abs. I don't know why, but being so in my head about this all made my body react in a weird way and things began to stir below deck. I never got fully hard, thank God. Unfortunately, for the rest of the hour session, I kept alternating between soft and half-mast due to being caught up in my head. This was incredibly awkward as I had to keep perfectly still, the only thing moving being my meat sausage. Long story short, I've had a few more classes with Beth, but she's refused to meet my eye even once. Her, and a few of the other drawers, treat me nicely enough, but there's this heavy awkward tension every time we interact. It's hard to just find new friends since Beth lives so close to me, so I see her daily. I don't know what to do now, and I'm worried I've lost a friend. Too long did not read. Got hard as a life drawing model and my friend is super uncomfortable now. If she doesn't find the whole thing pretty funny, then she's not a very good friend. Talk to her about it and point out that men can't really control their reactions in these matters, which is a thing she should know anyway. I'm just confused because she asked? But if she also didn't mean it, then she could have said, "Nah, I didn't actually plan for you to say yes." Why would she then act like this? Am I not following? Loudly crying? If decades of sitcom tropes have taught me anything, it's that now you have to see them naked. It's the only way to restore balance, Jerry. She invited a total amateur to model and expects it to go flawlessly and for you not to get erect. She is either very immature or she is very uneducated about erections. I would try talking to her. Today I fucked up by not knowing how to pee in the woods. TW peeing, if that grosses you out. For reference, I am a cisgender woman. Also, this technically happened yesterday. Anyway, I went on a lovely hike after work yesterday. Knowing I'd be sweating a bit, I swigged a bunch of water before I left. Then, I walked a few miles to an awesome park along a river in the city where I live. About an hour and a half in, I find myself along a very secluded trail along a river, with lots of trees and privacy. I realized quite suddenly that I had to pee, and thought great. A nice secluded trail, no one's around, it's getting dark, and I can just pee right here. Right? Wrong. I think I don't have enough outdoors experience, but I pulled down my pants, tried squatting, and proceeded to pee all over my athletic leggings, underwear, socks, shoes, and some even got on my shirt. I have never seen so much pee in my life. Then I just took everything off entirely and put it to the side, and just peed in another spot, but there was so much that it made a river down the hill and got on all of my clothing anyway. There was an enormous wet stain on my leggings, like if you picture what it looks like when someone full-on pees in their pants. Yeah, that's how I looked. Realizing I couldn't go home like this, I took my leggings and tried to fan them out, but to no avail. They were soaked. I had to wait it out. I sat in some sand along the river and listened to my audiobook, waiting for my clothing to dry. It was getting dark, and so I got up to go home. My already wet pants were now covered in sand too, but it honestly didn't even matter at that point. I walked about a mile to catch a bus, and took off my shirt and tied it around my waist, even though it's a fucking tank top, and just hung on my sports bra, so that I could try to cover the wet stain. Then I realized it was my cute new shirt that my partner's mom had just gotten me that I was wearing for the first time, and I fucking got pee all over it. I got catcalled on the street by someone driving by and wanted to facetiously shout back, "No. I'm not what you think I am. I peed all over myself. Take your business elsewhere." Then when I was on the bus going home, actively trying to hide the fact that I had peed all over my clothes, some random creepy dude started talking to me and literally asked me out. When I told my sister everything later, she joked to me that I should have just told the guy about how I peed in my pants. But anyway, I also felt terrible about the fact that I was on public transit, in pee-soaked clothing, making it a grosser place for everyone else who was simply trying to get home and hadn't peed all over their clothing. I got home, quickly went to go shower because my partner's brother, who lives with us, was home and easily could have seen what a mess I was. I took off my pants and fucking sand and twigs fell out all over the bathroom floor. Then I got in the shower and peed even more, which I didn't think could be possible. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I really screwed the pooch on this one and I'll try being less hydrated next time. Too long did not read. I don't know how to squat while peeing and I drenched my clothing in pee. Then had to go all the way home feeling very embarrassed. Why didn't you wash them off in the river? So, after already peeing on your clothes, your solution to keep them from getting more pee on them was to put them downhill from where you peed next. Try and keep your feet about shoulder width apart. When you squat, reach over your trousers and all the way under, then lift them as much as you can. Try and lean forward as much as your balance will allow, which should raise you up a little to help minimize splashing. If it helps, at least you got to go home and nobody really knew. I was on exercise in the woods, issued with only a coverall, and I had to go find an officer, all male, and explain why I needed a new one. At least you didn't try to shit in the woods a la the Bears or the Pope. Holy shit, that was wild. Giggling to myself like an idiot as I remember myself peeing on a hike, and behold. Midstream the wind god decided, fuck that guy's trousers. It was not dark and I was wearing khaki-colored. Today I fucked up by walking into the room of my crying Ukrainian roommate. I live together with a few roommates in a flat. Each of us has their own room. One of the girls I live with is from Ukraine and she fled her home country due to the war. I work mostly from home, so imagine my surprise when I suddenly heard loud crying. After contemplating for a few minutes whether I should go out or stay in my room, I decided to go out and found her door to her room open. I saw her on the floor, crying, while on the phone, and stepped a bit into her room to ask her whether she needs help. I don't know what happened, but I have a horrible hunch what could have happened. She, obviously, shut the door in my face, and I have been sitting here the last 30 minutes trying to figure out how to write an apology note. My roommate and I are not close, we literally only live together because no one of us has enough money to afford their own room. We just coexist with each other in the same space. Sometimes we have nice small talks, but mostly we don't see each other that often, which is surprising since we live together. Everyone is just hanging out in their own rooms or outside with their own friends. When I saw her door wide open and she visibly distraught, I just went in without really thinking. Maybe that wasn't the most sensitive thing to do. Does anyone have ideas what to write in the apology note? I want to express my remorse for coming in unannounced and offer help, but I fear that the latter might come off as pushy. Any ideas on how to put it into words in a sensitive way? Or should I just refrain from any contact and leave her the space she needs? Any advice would be great. Too long did not read. Walked in on my Ukrainian roommate crying on the floor. She shuts the door in my face. I don't know what to write in my apology note. Edit. Thanks a lot for the people who took time to write responses. I appreciate all your responses. Since I've never been in a bereavement situation nor had anyone close to me go through it, I didn't know how to act or whom to ask. I disagree with the people who said, "It's not a foo." I caught her in a very vulnerable situation and then even physically breached her sanctuary, aka private room. Just because I meant well, doesn't mean I did well. So even if I was a good person, I was not the person that was needed in this situation. It's just nosy and uncomfortable if someone pushes help on someone else who doesn't want it, for whatever reason. I took your advice to heart and gave her space today. After reading the comments, my new dilemma is now between, not apologizing. Because apologizing will remind her of what happened. She's already in distress and this isn't about me. Or, apologizing personally. And casually offer help as well as acknowledge my mistake and subtle assurance that it won't happen again. And thanks to you, Thaddeus, for providing me this valuable resource. I'm sorry I upset you. I was very concerned when I heard you crying, but I was wrong to step into your room, and I apologize. If you need someone to talk to, I'm available. I'm sorry you had a rough day. You didn't do anything wrong. Just say, sorry for intruding. I thought you needed help, but I now realize you probably wanted space. Do you want to write an apology note to make her feel better? Or to make you feel better? If it's for her benefit, don't bother. She's dealing with stuff that is way more important than you accidentally walking in. If it's for your benefit, don't bother. She probably doesn't want it. Write the note, then put it in the bin. And talk to her next time you have an opportunity and apologize in person. I don't think an apology is required. You clearly, so it seems, were trying to be empathetic and helpful. Just let it go and everything will be fine. Be careful with apologizing. Different cultures have different ways of going about it. Even specific phrases for how much blame, serious, formal, or sympathetic you intend to be. French culture, for example, prefers less formality, more straightforwardness, and interpret over apologizing as being insincere. If it's a serious offense, you lead with a peace offering. This might help. It's a guide from UK of dealing with Ukrainian refugees.